Washington, D.C. The air was thick with anticipation as reporters packed into the White House briefing room. On September 9th, 2025, the Trump administration found itself at the center of an international storm, forced to answer uncomfortable questions about what the United States knew and when regarding an Israeli strike on Hamas and whether Qatar had been warned in time. The briefing began in the familiar rhythm of politics and protocol, cameras clicking, pens poised, and eyes fixed on Caroline Leavitt, the president's press secretary. But within moments, the tone sharpened. This was not just another Washington update. This was about war, diplomacy, and credibility in one of the world's most volatile regions. Leavitt opened with a carefully measured explanation. She said, and I quote, "The Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas. The president directed his special envoy Witkoff to immediately call the Qataris, and after the attack, he spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu." Those words framed the administration's defense. According to Leavitt, Washington had acted promptly. The US military relayed the information, Trump ordered outreach to Qatar, and conversations with Israeli and Qatari leaders followed. Yet immediately, skepticism grew. If Qatar truly received notification before the missiles fell, why were officials in Doha insisting the call came only after explosions were already lighting up the night sky? Pressed further, Leavitt leaned into a narrative her boss has often embraced, that of the deal-maker and the peacemaker. She told the press corps, the president made his thoughts and concerns about this very clear, and he spoke again both to Prime Minister Netanyahu and also the Emir and the Prime Minister of Qatar after this attack. And the president has always made it very clear that he wants peace in the Middle East, just like he sought that and accomplished that in his first term. He expects all of our allies and friends in the region, that includes both Qatar and Israel, to seek peace as well. And he wants to see that happen, and he's working with all of our allies in the region to get that done. And it was a familiar script, one that cast Trump as the broker of stability in a region where peace has always seemed elusive. Yet the timing of this particular crisis made the rhetoric ring differently. The attack had already happened, civilians were in danger, and Qatar was publicly contradicting the White House. In this moment, the US position looked less like leadership and more like damage control. Still, the administration doubled down. In another remark, Leavitt emphasized, the president also overstressed the importance of peace in the region in his conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu as well. And Prime Minister Netanyahu told President Trump he wants peace and he wants it quickly. That's what the president expects to happen. This soundbite revealed both the White House's messaging strategy and the delicate balance of international optics. By highlighting Netanyahu's pledge to seek peace quickly, Leavitt sought to show alignment between Washington and Jerusalem. But in the background, the reality of Israeli airstrikes stood in stark contrast to the language of swift reconciliation. Then came perhaps the most revealing passage. Leavitt said, the president also spoke to the Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for their support and friendship to our country. He assured them that such a thing will not happen again on their soil. Those words were striking. They acknowledged, at least indirectly, that Qatar felt blindsided, that trust had been shaken, and that assurances were now necessary. In diplomacy, such phrasing rarely emerges unless relationships have been tested. For many observers, this was as close to a confirmation as the White House would give that something had indeed gone wrong. And then, in a sharp pivot that underscored the unpredictability of modern political briefings, Leavitt was asked about an entirely different controversy, a supposed birthday note from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. The press secretary did not hesitate. This absolutely was not the president's authentic signature, she declared. The president did not write this letter. He did not sign this letter. And that's why the president's external legal team is aggressively pursuing litigation against the Wall Street Journal, and they will continue to. The juxtaposition was jarring. On one hand, the administration was attempting to contain a potential diplomatic rupture between Israel, Qatar, and the United States. On the other, it was battling allegations tied to one of America's most notorious scandals. For a White House already under intense scrutiny, the overlap of international crisis and domestic controversy created a combustible mix. To understand the stakes of this moment, one must look beyond the briefing room. Qatar is not just another Middle Eastern country. It hosts the largest US military base in the region, Al Udeid Air Base, a strategic hub for operations across the Gulf. For Qatar to feel misled or marginalised is not just a diplomatic embarrassment, it's a potential threat to the operational backbone of American influence in the Middle East. Israel, meanwhile, operates under its own calculus. Facing threats from Hamas and emboldened by years of close ties with Washington, Israeli leadership often acts decisively, even unilaterally. But in this case, the decision to strike without clear coordination raised alarms about whether Netanyahu was testing the limits of American tolerance or whether Trump's team was simply caught off guard. The fallout is already reverberating. Qatar insists it received no advance warning. Israeli officials remain largely silent on the sequence of communications, and the White House walks a fine line, portraying Trump as a leader firmly in control while grappling with the reality that trust between two of America's closest regional partners has been strained. Critics point out that this episode reflects a broader pattern, lofty talk of peace paired with chaotic execution. Supporters, meanwhile, argue that Trump's quick outreach to both Netanyahu and Qatar proves his ability to step into crises and command the stage. Either way, the incident underscores how fragile alliances in the Middle East remain and how quickly narratives can unravel when facts are disputed. The added dimension of Trump's domestic battles, from litigation against the press to discredit allegations of scandal, complicates matters further. For an administration that prides itself on strength and clarity, the sight of its spokesperson weaving between questions about war, peace and Epstein in a single briefing sends a message not of control, but of perpetual firefighting. In the end, what lingers is a fundamental question: credibility. Did Qatar truly receive the warning call before the Israeli missiles struck, or was the outreach too little, too late? For Washington, the answer matters not just for diplomatic optics, but for the core of its role as an ally and mediator. For Israel, the strikes demonstrate resolve, but risk eroding the very partnerships it depends upon. And for Qatar, the episode is a reminder that even friendships with global powers come with moments of betrayal. As Caroline Levitt walked out of the briefing room, the flash of cameras followed her into the hallway, capturing not triumph but tension. The White House had spoken, but doubts remained. The press corps filed their stories, foreign ministries drafted their responses, and in capitals across the Middle East, leaders passed every word, every assurance, and every denial. This is not just a story about a strike. It is a story about trust. Who has it, who has lost it, and who is scrambling to rebuild it under the world's relentless gaze.
Good afternoon, everybody. Apologize for my tardiness today. Thanks for being here. Another packed room. It's good to see. The president will be signing a proclamation in the Oval Office later this afternoon, and we will see you all later. Thank you. Thank you. I read you a statement. The Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas. The president directed his special envoy Witkoff to immediately call the Qataris. And after the attack, he spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Behind you. Thank you. The president made his thoughts and concerns about this very clear, and he spoke again both to Prime Minister Netanyahu and also the Emir and the Prime Minister of Qatar after this attack. And the president has always made it very clear that he wants peace in the Middle East. Just like he sought that and accomplished that in his first term, he expects all of our allies and friends in the region, that includes both Qatar and Israel, to seek peace as well. And he wants to see that happen, and he's working with all of our allies in the region to get that done. And the president also overstressed the importance of peace in the region in his conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu as well. And Prime Minister Netanyahu told President Trump he wants peace and he wants it quickly. That's what the president expects to happen. The president for peace. The president also spoke to the Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for their support and friendship to our country. He assured them that such a thing will not happen again on their soil.
To be clear, the president
who said that this absolutely was not the president's authentic signature, and we have maintained that position all along. The president did not write this letter, he did not sign this letter, and that's why the president's external legal team is aggressively pursuing litigation against the Wall Street Journal, and they will continue to. Christian.